I call this subcommittee hearing to order to examine the impact of increasing gas prices on small businesses. Gasoline and diesel fuel prices have been climbing at unprecedented rates, and today we will hear about how these rising costs are negatively impacting our nation's entrepreneurs. With small firms being the nation's single largest employer, we need to do everything we can to help them thrive. Just a couple weeks ago, oil reached an all-time high of $111 a barrel. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of gasoline is now a record $3.33. In my own Western Pennsylvania district, I have seen gas prices approach $4 a gallon. I hope today's hearing will give us a better understanding of how small firms are being impacted by these rising energy prices. I'm sure we will hear from our panel of witnesses that the problem is widespread and impacts both consumers and small businesses. Continued energy price hikes mean sacrifices in a local business's bottom line. These costs can determine whether a construction firm is available to invest in a new storage facility and whether a family farmer can afford fertilizer for this year's crops. The situation creates hardships in virtually every industry throughout the nation. While it has hit some sectors harder than others, it affects businesses ranging from hotels and restaurants to the local grocery store that has to raise the price of bread that families depend on. Today we will hear from small businesses coping with rising energy costs. We also have experts with us who will discuss the increasing demand, limited supplies, and market conditions associated with the price increases and what solutions are available to combat this growing problem. Unfortunately, these trends deflate small business owners' expectations for expansion. In fact, 2/3 of entrepreneurs are anticipating lower profits this year when compared to previous years, due in large part to increased energy costs. Also at issue are small businesses that use energy resources on a daily basis to meet their transportation needs. Take our nation's trucking companies. The trucking industry is on pace to spend an unprecedented $135 billion on diesel costs alone. This amount is $22 billion more than what was reported just last year. Such rapidly rising costs pose a severe long-term challenge to U.S. small businesses. There are few options when it comes to confronting these costs, as many companies are simply unable to reduce their energy consumption. Rising costs usually result in less available capital to expand small businesses, which spells bad news for our economy as a whole. To help ease the burden of increasing costs, we must consider and enact long-term solutions. There needs to be continued investment in renewable energy and recognition that alternative sources of fuel are a vital part of addressing the problem. We also need to continue providing business owners with the necessary resources to develop and purchase greater energy-efficient technologies. That is exactly why this committee last year shepherded the Small Energy Efficient Business Act through Congress. Now that act assists small businesses through investment in new, renewable, and green technologies. The law also expands traditional SBA loan programs by broadening their criteria to help address energy needs. While this may not be the catch-all solution, that act took decisive steps toward addressing the energy needs of small firms, and we intend to continue that work. Our nation's entrepreneurs deserve our every effort to provide them with the tools they need. My hope is that today's hearing will be the first opportunity to discuss some of these challenges and offer solutions to assist our country's small businesses in dealing with the current grim circumstances. And at this time, I would welcome our new ranking member to this committee, my good friend and colleague, Mary Fallin from Oklahoma. So I would yield to the ranking member, Fallin, for her opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to all of our guest panelists today. It's good to have you here. We appreciate your time to come and visit with our committee. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having me as a new ranking member. It's a pleasure to be on this committee, and of course, small business is something that is near and dear to my heart. Well, let me just start out by talking about our consumers. Just like consumers, small business owners are feeling the financial squeeze of rising energy costs. And in most cases, these small businesses are having to re-examine their business plans, their future investments, the bottom line profitability, and even job creation. And it is very imperative that Congress needs to investigate possible steps to lower the cost for small business for fuel, encourage the use of energy conservation measures, bolster our national economy, and, of course, to reduce our dependency on energy from foreign markets. And I'd like to just say thank you to all of our special witnesses that have joined us here today to come and provide information that will be very important in helping us look at policy as a nation. And especially would like to welcome a fellow Oklahoman, Dr. Vince Orza, who is Dean of the Minder School of Business, also an academic scholar and a TV commentator, ran for a couple of political offices. And we are glad to have him come today to lend his expertise. Small businesses are the economic engine that drives our economy and job creation. Small businesses feed our families and provide goods and services to our community. They serve as seeds of innovation, producing 13 to 14 times more patents per employee than large firms, and small businesses participate in all major industries and represent 99.7% of all employers and employ 50% of all private sector workers. In addition, 39% of the high-tech workers, such as scientists, engineers, computer workers, are all employed, for the most part, by small businesses. Rising gasoline and diesel fuel prices are impacting the economy, from individual consumers who buy from small businesses to international conglomerates who do business with them. Small businesses are consistently ranked as one of the hardest hit sectors when it comes to rising fuel prices. These rising costs have profoundly impacted the day-to-day routine of running a business, whether it is the cost of the transportation of goods and services, the operation of machinery, the mileage in employee expense reports, delayed receivables, or even tighter access to capital and loans. Small businesses are feeling the pinch. Many large firms can pass on the increased fuel costs to their consumers, but because small business concerns often operate on razor-thin margins and very competitive pricing, passing on the fuel cost increase to their consumers could result in a loss of sales and, in the long term, even going out of business. Some small businesses have found ways to observe fuel costs and employ energy conservation steps. However, the practice of absorbing fuel costs cannot be sustained in the long term. The impact of high fuel costs upon some small businesses like trucking and charter bus companies can be greater than other market segments. Rising fuel costs have also become a barrier to entry for people planning to start a small business or even expand a small business. Well, this nation was built on the backs of hard-working small business owners. We have benefited greatly from a rich history of American innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. We must do all that we can as a nation to support our small business owners and maintain an economic environment that is vibrant and rewards hard work and encourages sound investment. And Mr. Chairman, I look forward to working with you on this important issue, and again want to thank all of you for being here today, and thank you for your testimony. I'll yield back the balance of my time.